What's up? It's Phil from Fit Will Exposed, and as you can see, we finally hit the 5,000 subscriber mark on the Fit Will Exposed YouTube channel, which I'm extremely happy and fortunate about. I know you guys also noticed that I put the original theme song at the beginning of this video, and I did this to dedicate it to the people who came prior to 5,000 subscribers. You guys already know how hard I worked, how much work I put in to this YouTube channel, and more importantly, you guys are the original supporters who have been helping me out, commenting on my stuff, spreading the word, and just giving positive feedback since day one, which I really appreciate. And even the negative feedback, I still appreciate that as well. But overall, I'm extremely happy. The channel is going to keep growing. It's going to keep getting better and better. Better equipment, better content, a better visual experience for the viewer, and the list goes on. So in this video, I'm going to take 25 of the top questions that I got requested, and I'm going to address them one by one, training or non-training related, and you guys are just going to love them. So let's get into it. So the first question on the list is, gaining strength and size as a teenager, is it harder? I don't think gaining size as a teenager or strength is necessarily harder, but you aren't fully grown because you're a teenager, so you're still in that growing phase. So if you're a teenager, you're maybe 13 to around 18, 19, you still have a lot of growing to do. You're still going through puberty to a certain extent. So that's kind of like the downside of being a teenager, is that you're not really at your full growth potential yet, like aside from lifting. But besides that, the benefit and why you'd be in a good situation if you're a teenager is because you're basically just fresh. And if you're fresh, it means that you're able to hire a coach. If you hire a coach, he or she could give you the right tools and the right habits to start from the get-go. So that means it's going to put you ahead of a lot of lifters out there, because there's a lot of people who've been training 4 or 5 years who haven't had any mentors or any coaches, and they've basically been practicing the wrong things since day one. So the whole saying, practice makes perfect. Well, practice doesn't make perfect if you're practicing the wrong habits. But if you're a teenager and you hire a coach, you're going to learn that from the get-go, and you're going to be a lot better off. Why do you care about overall size more than you care about aesthetics and being lean? Okay, to respond to this question, I think that just because you're at a higher body fat and you're chasing a bulkier look, it doesn't mean that you're not aesthetic. It's just a different kind of aesthetic. It's just a more like underground, it's not the mainstream aesthetic, because the mainstream aesthetic is more about being lean. It's more about having that Hollywood model kind of look. I'm not bashing that kind of look, but it's not the look that I'm looking for. And the reason why it's not the look that I'm looking for is because I've been skinny for the majority of my life. I've had abs, and there was nothing really special about it. I had definition all over. In fact, before I even started lifting weights, when I was just I had a big basketball background, I was just playing, I was just doing a ton of suicides and all this stuff. I was really shredded. I was 145 when I graduated from high school, but I did not look good whatsoever. And even when I got up to even when I did start lifting and I was up to 180 and I still had abs and all that stuff, it didn't look that impressive either. I personally think that I respect the person a lot more who walks into a room, and they're rocking a higher body fat, they have a beard, and they have huge back, huge shoulders, huge triceps and stuff like that, as opposed to a person who walks into a room and they feel like they need to just get into their tank top in order to really show off their veins and stuff. I like the higher body fat look because you look good with a shirt off, but more importantly, you look good with the shirt on. So, and also I live in Montreal, I live in Canada, so it's extremely cold where I live, and the summer is really the only time where people are really wearing t-shirts. So I don't really feel the need to try to always walk around with very little clothes in order to just show off my definition. So that's just me. How did you meet Alex? Okay, this is a funny question because a lot of people have been asking me this, and every now and then I think of it and I'm like, wow, it's so funny how I met him. I originally first started watching his videos when I first started training my neck a few years back. So I typed in neck training, and at the time there was barely any videos talking about this. But he had a video that was called Bulldog Neck Training, something like that. It was one of his first videos, and I remember the first time I watched it, I'm like, wow, here's another guy who's talking about neck training just like me. I was blogging about it, but he was vlogging about it. So then I decided to start watching his other videos, and I'm like, wow, I would actually really get along with this guy. But I saw he was making videos about like Johnny Candido and like his overhead press and just a bunch of other YouTubers. So then right off the bat, I thought he was an American. So it's funny, I thought that Alex was either from like Texas, New York, or Vermont. I had no clue that he was in Montreal just like me. So I never really subscribed to his channel because I never had a YouTube account, but I was watching all his videos. Like every single day he would drop a video. I'd hands down be one of the first to watch them. And I never commented because I didn't have an account, but you could best believe I watched a lot of his videos at least like twice. Some of his videos I would just watch them like 3-4 times, but it's funny because he was hands down my favorite YouTuber before I even met him. And then next thing you know, I was in the library one day and I was watching one of his videos. I was watching his workout video, and I remember I looked at the wall of the workout video and it had French letters. It said remets vos poids, but I didn't really think about it. And then I look to my right and I see someone walk into the library. It was Alex. I'm like, oh, you're Alex from Alpha Destiny? He's like, yeah. I told him about Fit Will Exposed. We spoke for like an hour, then we went our separate ways. But now, yeah, he's a very well-respected YouTuber. I'm happy I met him, and I think everything happens for a reason. I don't think it was an accident that I met him. If you could only pick 3 movements for building huge delts, what would they be? Okay, this is a very difficult question because I have a lot of delt exercises that I do like, but I do like the seated military press. It's a shoulder press where you're basically sitting down and you just bring the bar to like your upper chest. It's kind of like a really high incline press. I like this lift a lot because you could go a bit heavier, you could use leg drive, hits the delts hard, takes the legs out of the equation for the most part. It's a strict movement and it just feels good on the delts. You get a really good stretch. You get a lot of bodybuilders are big advocates of this lift. The second lift would be the rear delt swing. I just made a tutorial on it, popularized by John Meadows. It's a great rear delt exercise. And the third, I'd maybe pick like either like a lateral raise variation or like a band face pull. Okay, how to progress on curls and extensions. It's a very easy answer. You just have to treat curls or extensions like a competition lift. But with that being said, I wouldn't be a huge advocate of going extremely heavy on extensions because they tend to be very stressful on the elbows if you do extremely low reps. But I think with curls, you could get away with it though, and that's why the strict curl, which used to be a competition lift, it still is, but it's not as popular anymore. You know, where you have your glutes, your upper back, and the back of your head on a wall, and you just do a strict curl with an easy bar. You could definitely make that a main lift. You could definitely do low reps for that exercise, and I believe that if you try to like, you know, double your strict curl, you can have way bigger and way stronger arms, way bigger biceps. But just a general rule of thumb, just because it's not like a power lift, just because it's not a squat, bench, deadlift, doesn't mean that you can't make it a main lift. You know, you can make the snatch grip deadlift a main lift in your program. You could basically create your own big 3 if you want. You know, you can make the front squat a main lift, make the overhead press a main lift, and even like very unconventional exercises like, you know, dumbbell lifts, like a 1-arm dumbbell push press. You could basically take any lift seriously. It really depends on the individual's goals, their injury history, and a bunch of other factors. Hey Phil, what are your thoughts on buzz cuts for teenagers? I personally think buzz cuts are awesome. I personally got my first, I shaved my head first when I was like 13 years old. And prior to that, I actually had really long hair. So my hair was like pretty much touching my traps and upper back. Then when I hit Sec 1, I pretty much cut it off completely. And I personally think that's a cool look, and it's like, it's less of a feminine look, because I remember when I had really long hair, it would take me like 30 minutes to wash my hair. I'd wake up the next morning and have like bad hair days. My hair would just be everywhere. But when I was around 13 years old and I shaved my whole head, I went to the barber shop, it made my life so much easier. And then maybe like 2 years ago, or maybe it was actually 1 year ago, I just started cutting my own hair. So nothing crazy here, but it also saves you a lot of money, so you're not breaking the bank. You know, you can get a whole kit. If you guys want, I can make tutorials on how to just like shave your own head and like line up your own beard. Very simple stuff in the future. So if the demand is high enough, I'll make a video on that. Thoughts on unilateral training for legs and mixed martial arts, MMA. Okay, I think unilateral training is extremely important for an athlete, and I would even go as far as saying that if you're an athlete, half of your lower body training should be unilateral. I know it's a hard statement, it's not necessarily set in stone, but a big chunk of your training for your lower body and even your upper body should be unilateral. And there's a lot of benefits that unilateral training offers that bilateral training doesn't, such as it improves your balance, ankle stability, coordination, timing, and there's a lot of benefits of that nature that can't be duplicated with bilateral methods. So if you get really strong at unilateral lifts and you get strong at bilateral lifts, you're getting the best of both worlds. And if you're an athlete, so if you're doing like MMA, like you're gonna be on one foot a lot of the time, and like you need to be very stable, and you need good coordination, and unilateral training tests a lot of this stuff. So I would recommend different forms of unilateral training. So a lot of people think that unilateral training is just single leg work, and it is, but there's different forms of single leg work. So for example, let's say you take a Bulgarian split squat. Yes, it is a unilateral lift, but at the same time, it's not a true unilateral lift because your back leg is getting support from the bench. So I would still recommend you do stuff like that, but you also want to do what I like to call real unilateral lifts where the leg is just pretty much in the air. Like if you do like a single leg RDL, which is great for the posterior chain, it's good for hitting it in a unilateral fashion, but the back leg is not getting supported by anything. So that means that the front leg that's standing on the ground has to work overtime with the stabilizers and stuff of that nature. So make sure if you're an athlete, you incorporate a multitude of different unilateral lifts and you won't be disappointed. Single best tip for making strength gains as a novice. Okay, hands down, the single best tip I can give you for making strength gains as a novice is working on your technique and upping your frequency a bit. So if you want to become a good bencher as a novice, don't just bench once a week. You can bench twice a week. You're not as strong, so the lift won't be as taxing. You know, if you're benching a plate, it's not a taxing lift, as opposed to if you're benching like 3 or 4 plates. So you could up the frequency and practice the lift, and more importantly, work on your technique. So I made a video about this not long ago, but like people are so concerned about assistance lifts when they're novices, and like your program is gonna have some assistance lifts, it's gonna have some extensions and stuff like that, but the main priority for all novices should be to work on your technique. And even when you're intermediate, your technique will still most likely need work, but when you're a novice, most novices, like they can't even squat properly, the deadlift form looks terrible, can't do pull-ups. Like if you work on your technique, it's gonna do more for you than anything else. It's gonna help you maximize your leverages so you can actually lift heavier. It's gonna help keep you safe because now you're lifting with like better form. There's so many benefits, and like I know it may not sound like the best, like the sexiest advice, but if you work on your technique, it's gonna instill the right habits for you in the long run, and it's the best investment, hands down. Would you say that a 500 or a 600 pound snatch grip deadlift for 1 rep is better than an above the knee snatch grip rack pull? Okay, well, I personally don't like the above the knee snatch grip rack pull because of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. The above the knee snatch grip rack pull, it rips a lot of straps in most cases, and it is a good lift, but at the same time, like the strap's just gonna keep ripping. You're just gonna have to keep buying new straps. Whereas on the other hand, if you take the snatch grip deadlift, you know, you get a bit more out of less weight, you get way more range of motion, and it's just a fuller movement. And I think it's a more appropriate goal to chase, because also you're not gonna be bending the bar all the time. If you load up most bars, except for like a trap bar, if you load up most straight bars with 1,000 pounds, the bar is most likely gonna bend. So a lot of gyms aren't gonna like you, and with that bar, you won't be able to do a lot of presses and rows and stuff like that. So I personally think a good goal to shoot for as a drug-free lifter looking for a huge upper back is like a 585 snatch grip deadlift. So it's a 6-plate deadlift. And I think it could be done drug-free. For sure it could be. A lot of people have done it. Eric Bugenhagen. It just takes long. High volume glute work for fixing anterior pelvic tilt. I would personally agree with this because I had anterior pelvic tilt in the past, maybe like 3 to 4 years ago. And this is in a period where I was really sitting a lot, I had really tight hips, so on and so forth. But I remember I consulted a physiotherapist, I consulted a trainer, and they both told me the same thing. They both told me to do horizontal back extensions before and after every workout for extremely high reps with long squeezes. So 1 to 3 second squeezes at the top of every rep. So this got my glutes used to getting activated. It brought fresh blood flow to them. And I just got into the habit of really hammering that posterior chain. And I felt like constantly activating the glutes before and after every workout, and even during my workout I'll throw in some extra sets. With this particular exercise, it helped a lot. And also on the way down, it felt really good on the low back, and it's a lift that's really easy to recover from. So I'd recommend that you try out that lift, the horizontal back extension. You don't even have to use any weight, but you could throw on a plate on your stomach if you want. But also stretching out my hips, just like stretching throughout the day in general, helped a lot. But to answer your question, high volume glute work for fixing anterior pelvic tilt, that's what worked for me. See if it works for you and let me know. Will you ever post any full body workouts? Of course I'm going to post full body workouts. I don't know when, but it's just a matter of time. And I know for a fact that this YouTube channel is not going anywhere, and you're going to see some full body workouts, guaranteed. That I can promise you. I have an addictive personality, so I know if I post one, I'm just going to be posting a bunch. So don't worry about it. There's going to be lifting videos. There's going to be bulking on a budget. All this stuff is going to come. I just don't know exactly when, but it's going to come. Okay, can I build a massive upper back with a herniated disc? I don't know if it could be massive, but you could definitely hypertrophy your upper back to a certain extent, even if you have a herniated disc. And if you look at guys like the Hodge twins, or just guys in general who have bad backs, you can still train your back hard, but you just have to approach it in a different fashion. So you have to do like wide grip pull-ups with heavy weight, heavy chest supported T-bar rows, maybe some pen lay rows if you can handle it, a lot of unilateral rows, some machine rows, maybe some dumbbell seated shrugs. There's a lot of stuff that you can still do. Seal rows. You can still do a lot even if you have a herniated disc, but obviously lifts like, rack pulls below the knee, snatch grip deadlifts, maybe even rack pulls above the knee. Like, a lot of lifts are going to be out of the question, but the upper back is a huge muscle group, and you could attack it in a multitude of different ways. You just have to do it in a way that's not going to aggravate it, and that's easier on your recovery, so it's easier to hit it more frequently. Okay, any program like Naturally Enhanced, but for women, in the works? Okay, I was actually working on a book that was very similar to Naturally Enhanced. It's for women, and it's to develop the enhanced muscles to make them look like as sexy as possible and as attractive as possible. The book was called Hourglass. I was working on it maybe like a few months after Naturally Enhanced first came out, but then I pretty much took a huge break off of it because I never really had a huge female audience. And now fast forward to YouTube, I'm looking at my analytics, and it's pretty much a sausage fest in here. Like, I have like maybe 0.5% women watching, and then like 99.5% of men. So right now it doesn't look like I'm gonna be dropping that book anytime soon. Silverback looks like it's gonna be dropping when I hit 10K subs. It's not guaranteed, but it should be. But hopefully, I'm trying to get more women videos. Like, I want to bring a few women to the channel and make them demonstrate like glute videos and stuff like that, to get a few more women engaged in like the comment section and stuff. So I don't know what the future holds, but I would like to drop Hourglass like in the next few years. It may be in 2020. It may be when I have like 15 to 20% of women watching my stuff. But you can best believe that I want to get more women engaged in the channel. I want to make videos for both sexes. I don't want to just make it for men. Okay, next is a question that I like a lot. It's, which natties do you find the most impressive? So as far as strength is concerned, I like Mike the Machine, Bud Jeffries, Eric Bugenhagen. Those are the top 3 that I can really think of, like at the top of my head, without thinking too hard. Now, I don't know for a fact that these guys are drug free, but in my opinion, it's very likely that they were and still are till this day. But as far as the physique, it's a bit more complicated because I like Eric's physique a lot, but I personally think that he would look a bit better at a higher body fat. That's just my opinion. But as far as strength is concerned, I would love to have Eric's strength. I think he has the most badass strength on YouTube. He's drug free, and he has like all these extreme feats of strength, especially for his pulls. That's what he's really known for. He's kind of like the Pete Rubish for odd lifts. So he does heavy behind the back pulls. He's snatch grip deadlifting the 600s for like reps. He's done high pulls like in the 400s. Like he's extremely strong. Hands down, he has the strongest drug-free back on YouTube for his weight class, you know. Bud Jeffries, he's also extremely strong. He does a lot of unconventional lifts. But even Mike the Machine had an extremely strong back. So if you look at the pattern, all three of these guys had extremely strong backs. But I like Eric Bugenhagen because he does a lot of snatch grip lifts. That's the stuff I'm into. But those are hands down my top 3 favorite drug-free guys. Will you show us what you eat in a day? Yeah, I'll definitely be doing full day of eating videos. But before I start that, I have to do a few videos to add to the playlist with the bulking on a budget. And I know I told you guys that I was gonna have it in July, a few videos for that series, but unfortunately it got pushed back. So I should have something for September, and then one thing at a time. But then I can start doing, you know, full day eating videos to show you guys. And yeah, I apologize for the delay of the bulking on a budget. Okay, weight goals and goals for specific lifts. Okay, as far as weight goals, I'm weighing around 225 to 230. I'm pretty happy in that range, so I'm just trying to build more muscle. I don't really like care about the number necessarily. 225, 230 is a solid range. As far as the lifts are concerned, this isn't long term. This is a pretty short term goal within the next few months. I want to get that 500 pound snatch grip deadlift. I want to get it with like some really good form too. I don't want it to be like too much of a hitch. I want to get that 1,000 plus trap bar rack pull at the knee level. I actually don't have it right now because I haven't really been practicing the rack pull, but I should get that soon. And those are like, I don't like having too many goals at once. I don't want to set 10 lifting goals, so I'm focusing a bit on those. I'm doing the assistance lifts, squatting and stuff like that, but those are pretty much the lifts that I really want to focus on for now. Why is your head always tilted? Okay, I'm happy somebody asked me this question because it was a very popular question that people were asking me in the comment section below, especially for my first few videos. And the reason why my head was tilted in pretty much all of my first few videos was because I wasn't used to living such a sedentary lifestyle. So I'm used to being a bit more on my feet, but I'm still used to being on the computer for like a decent amount of time. But ever since this whole YouTube thing started around maybe 4 months ago, I've been editing with Josh and shooting, responding to comments, working on my Silverback book, answering emails, and the list goes on. So it's like you could imagine how much time I've been sitting in front of a computer, and I'm not complaining about it because I'm doing what I love, but this is what comes with the territory, you know. From time to time I would get a bit of anterior pelvic tilt because my hips would get really tight and I would just be sitting on my ass all day. But at the end of the day, it's worth it. And to fix this, I basically did a lot of corrective stretching for my neck and traps and other muscles in my upper body. And I also did a lot of corrective exercises. So that pretty much fixed it. You know, my head's not as tilted as it used to be, but keep in mind that my neck does get really tight when I'm sitting for long periods of time. So I have to look out for that. Okay, somebody wants to know nationality. Okay, my dad, he's a fully Quebecois. My mom has a bit of Quebec in her, but she's also Maltese. So the majority of me is Quebecois, but I have a bit of Maltese in me. And for anybody who's French, don't be shy to ask me questions in French. I'll answer right away in the comment section below. Or if you want to consult me on Skype, or if you want like online coaching, French is my first language. I actually learned English when I was around 4. So my French is up to par, and you could ask me French questions as well. Okay, so favorite mass building exercises. What's your top 5? I like the snatch grip deadlift from a deficit because it's a really good range of motion, and it's a deadlift variation that hits the upper back really hard. I like the rack pull done with the trap bar because the bar doesn't bend as much and the loading potential is higher. I like the close grip dip because it's one of the best tricep builders out there. I like the back squat because it's the king of lower body exercises. I like the snatch grip high pull because it's a trap movement. It's another trap movement that has a really good range of motion, and it's just, my traps respond well to it. Okay, other good exercises for getting yoked besides rack pulls. There's a lot of exercises you could do to get yoked besides rack pulls, and one of them would be high pull variations. So a high pull is basically just a full body lift. It's an Olympic lifting variation. You're just pulling the bar with a wide grip to your clavicle. And this is an extremely good lift. It's not an upright row, it's not the same at all, but you could do variations of that. So you could do clean grip high pulls, you could do snatch grip high pulls, you could do snatch grip low pulls where you're pulling to like your nipple line or slightly below. You could do clean grip low pulls. You could do snatch grip high pulls from the floor where you're pulling it basically from the floor all the way up to the clavicle. Olympic weightlifters have huge traps, and they credit this to a lot of like explosive snatch grip lifts of this nature. So you could do high pull variations, maybe even twice a week. They're pretty easy to recover from. And you could actually, if you work up to some impressive numbers, you could actually get some pretty big traps without ever even doing rack pulls. With that being said, if you really want to maximize your trap development as a drug-free lifter, I'd recommend that you do rack pulls if you could. Why the change of rack pulls below the knee as of late? Okay, I still do rack pulls above the kneecap. I actually just started doing them again recently, but I do them with the trap bar, with heavy dumbbells on the sides. I made a whole tutorial about it. But I think that if you want to get an extremely big and strong back, you have to pull from various heights. And there's this huge misconception that if you're not pulling from above the kneecap, it's all posterior chain. And this couldn't be any further from the truth, because I'm doing a lot of snatch grip lifts which target the upper back and the lats to a major extent. So if you're doing a snatch grip rack pull below the kneecap, please believe that your upper back and your lats are working extremely hard. And even if you're pulling it from the floor, the same thing applies. And also I noticed that when I was doing a lot of barbell rack pulls above the knee, the bars would bend a lot. So it's like I'd always have that problem. And when I would do a snatch grip rack pulls above the knee, the straps would rip, which happened twice. So it's like when you do these barbell rack pull variations above the knee, it's either your straps rip or the bar rips. So it's like you don't really get that same problem with the trap bar. But overall, if you really want to get a big and strong back, don't marry yourself to one height. Pull from various heights, pull from deficits, and it's really easy to keep track of progress, but you'll be very satisfied with the results if you get really strong over time. Thoughts on Zercher lifts? I personally think Zercher lifts are amazing for upper back and core isometric strength, but the downside that I see with me and with a lot of other people with Zercher lifts is that they tend to aggravate a lot of people's elbows. So if you try to do heavy Zercher walks or heavy Zercher rack pulls, heavy Zercher squats from various heights, a lot of people can't handle that. Even if, no matter what they do, you know, even if they put a towel or even if they gradually work up to the weight, you're going to reach a certain point where the Zercher lifts are just going to aggravate your elbows, and it's going to have a negative impact on your recovery, so it's going to hurt your direct arm training. And the Zercher lifts are great, but they're just not for everybody, I think. So I think that if you want to still incorporate Zercher lifts, you just do it with lifts where you can't go as heavy. So the only Zercher lift that I incorporate in my program is the Bulgarian split squat, but I'll do it with like a Zercher grip in certain programs, because you can't go super heavy, but you're still getting the Zercher lifting benefits. But overall, if you could do Zercher lifts pain-free, they're really good for your upper back strength, really good for your core strength, and I highly recommend them. How do you do the snatch grip high pull? Okay, I got some snatch grip high pull videos dropping in the future, but for now I'm actually talking to a few Olympic weightlifting coaches because I really want my form to be more crispy. And I noticed that the Olympic weightlifting community, they're very strict with their form. And if I start posting a lot of Olympic weightlifting variation movements on my channel, if the form isn't as good as it could be, I'm going to get a lot of criticism for it. So expect some high pull videos in the future. What I can tell you is that it's a great movement for triple extension, and one of the most common mistakes that people make with this lift is that they pull way too much with their arms. So they think it's some sort of upright row, which it's not. It's a full body movement. Most of the force is generated through the hips, and a lot of it has to do with timing too. You know, you have to be somewhat coordinated. So that's why I think the snatch grip high pull from the hang is a lot easier to learn than snatch grip high pull from the floor from a deficit. But be on the lookout for some high pull videos in the future. Out of all the Olympic lifting variations, it's not extremely technical, but with that being said, you still have to learn how to do it properly. Okay, long arms for my height. how do I fill them out? I like this question a lot because I could personally relate to this. I'm more of a torso dominant guy, and judging by your question of your height, you're probably a taller individual, and a lot of taller individuals tend to have longer arms, so they tend to be a bit more torso dominant, just like me. So my recommendation, hands down, is you have to start focusing a lot on your triceps, mainly the long head of the triceps, but you also have to put a lot of emphasis on the lateral and medial head. So you could target the long head with a lot of overhead power extensions, or just heavy overhead extensions in general, bilateral or unilateral. Then as far as the lateral and medial head, I'd recommend you do some, you go on the V-bar dip station and you do close grip dips. And you try to get that to like some heavy numbers, you know, maybe half your body weight attached to the dipping belt. The close grip dip is going to hypertrophy your lateral and medial head to a large extent, and it puts a lot more emphasis on the triceps. So a lot of people, they do regular dips with like a wide grip. That puts a lot of emphasis on the chest. So if you really want to build your arms up, I recommend you do a lot of heavy dips. If you can't do dips, close grip benching is okay too. I personally found that I felt the close grip bench a lot more in my chest and shoulders, and I felt the close grip dips a lot more in my triceps, but everybody's different. Just experiment. And yeah, it's basically when you hypertrophy your triceps to a large extent, when you're a taller guy, it's not going to give you that spaghetti walk. And what do I mean by the spaghetti walk? I mean, there's a lot of big guys, you know, they have big torsos, big legs, but they just have like these really thick arms, and it's basically like you just see the wind pass by and their arms are just like floating, they're just hanging, and it's not really a muscular looking arm. But if you acquire some really thick triceps, you're no longer going to have that problem, and it's probably going to correct a lot of your torso dominance as well. Okay, how many calories do you average per day? I personally don't count my calories, and the reason why I don't count them is, one, it's extremely boring, and two, I'm already at the weight range that I want to be at. So 225 to 230, that's pretty much where I'm ranging, and I don't count any calories. All I do is I eyeball my food, and I've been at in between 225 to 230 for around a year, maybe even a year and a half now. So with that being said, if my goals were to gain a lot of weight or lose a lot of weight, I would start counting my calories, because it's not something that you really want to gamble with. You know, if you really want specific results, you have to do very specific things, and counting calories, even though it's a bit of a pain in the ass, it's one of those things that you have to do if you're trying to acquire certain results and reach a given weight. So there you guys have it, 5,000 subscriber epic Q&A. If you like this video, let me know in the comment section below. And once again, I'm just extremely happy to be where I am right now with the channel. It's just going to keep getting better and better. You're going to see the channel is going to grow week after week, month after month, year after year, and I'm really happy to be in the situation that I'm in. So at 7,500 subscribers, I could probably do another big Q&A. If anything, I could answer 50 questions that time. And then when we get to 10,000 subscribers, I should be dropping my Silverback book. So with that being said, thanks again. Let me know what you think about this Q&A in the comment section below. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.